Welcome to the world of science fiction stories. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy the listening. Human mechanic saves the ugliest dragon. What it became left him speechless. The wind howled through the jagged cliffs of Cryon, an abandoned world swallowed by time and neglect. Once a bustling colony on the outer fringes of the galaxy, Cryon was now a wasteland. The skies churned with crimson dust under the gaze of pale, dying stars. Rusted ship remains and half-buried buildings dotted the barren landscape like tombstones marking a forgotten past. No one came here anymore. Just ghosts and scavengers. And that suited Jax just fine. The old mechanic adjusted the strap of his weathered tool belt, his boots crunching softly against the cracked earth. His ship, the Driftwood, sat nestled between two towering rock formations, battered and worn from years of interstellar travel. Jax wasn't much to look at, grizzled, streaks of gray in dark hair, sharp eyes that had seen too much, and hands calloused from a lifetime of fixing broken things. He wasn't here for glory or riches. He was here to disappear. Cryon was a graveyard. And Jax had come looking for salvage, spare parts, forgotten tech, anything that might keep the Driftwood flying for another year, or month. He didn't plan too far ahead anymore. Life had a way of punishing those who did. He moved through the desolation with practiced ease. His scanner beeped softly, faint energy signatures nearby. Good. Maybe today wouldn't be a total waste. The signal led him to a cavernous canyon, its smooth walls shaped by centuries of wind erosion. As Jax descended, the temperature dropped, and his scanner's hum grew louder. He frowned. Whatever was down here wasn't just scrap. The readings were erratic. Alive. Cautiously, he stepped into a massive underground chamber. The walls shimmered with crystalline deposits, catching the dim light filtering through cracks above. And at the center of the chamber, chained to the ground by thick, corroded restraints, lay something Jax never expected to see. A dragon. No. Not just any dragon. A renar. An albino renar, legendary creatures thought to be extinct. Hunted to the brink by the Galactic Consortium for their unmatched ferocity. Its scales, dulled by grime, still shimmered faintly with an ethereal white glow. Tattered wings lay folded against its trembling body. Deep crimson eyes flickered open, locking onto Jax with a mix of pain and curiosity. He froze. Heart pounding. He'd heard the stories. How the renar once ruled the skies of uncharted worlds. Revered. Feared. And yet, this one had been left here. Chained. Rotting. Parasites, twisted, barnacle-like growths, clung to its body, draining its strength, its life. Who the hell left you here? Jax whispered, stepping closer despite every instinct screaming at him to run. The dragon growled low. But there was no malice, only suffering. And desperation. Jax scanned the creature with his wrist device. The barnacles had embedded themselves deep into its nervous system. Removing them would be a nightmare. But leaving them? A death sentence. Damn it, Jax muttered, rubbing his temple. He wasn't a hero. He was a mechanic, a scavenger, a ghost. But as he looked into the dragon's eyes, something shifted. He had spent his life fixing what others had thrown away. Could he really walk away now? The dragon let out a soft, pleading whimper. Jax sighed. Guess it's your lucky day, big guy. He pulled out his tools and approached. The rusted chains resisted, but eventually snapped with a sharp crack. The dragon didn't move, too weak to even lift its head. Jax knelt beside it, resting a hand gently against cold scales. All right, he whispered. Let's get you out of here. Dragging the creature back to the Driftwood wasn't easy. It took all the strength and ingenuity Jax had left. But when the ship's doors sealed shut and the engines roared to life, he knew he'd made the right choice. As Cryon faded behind them, He glanced at the dragon resting in the cargo hold. "Don't worry," he murmured. "I'm going to fix you." The driftwood drifted through the void, silent and endless, stars like scattered diamonds across space. Jack sat in his cramped workshop, shadows dancing across his cluttered bench. Tools, spare parts, and half-finished projects surrounded him, but all his focus was on the creature just feet away. The dragon, no, Alba, as he'd decided to call her, lay curled in the cargo bay. Her breathing was shallow, but steady. Her scales had begun to glimmer again, faint but alive. Yet the barnacles still clung to her, feeding on her strength. Jax leaned back, rubbing his tired eyes. "What the hell am I doing?" he muttered. He was a mechanic. Not a medic. And definitely not a dragon whisperer. But here he was. Grabbing his scanner, he approached Alba. Her crimson eyes opened slowly, locking onto his. The readings made his stomach twist. The parasites were complex, alien even to him. Tendrils wrapped around her nervous system like a web. "All right, big girl," he whispered, pulling out his precision tools. "This is going to suck for both of us." He started with the smallest barnacle, using a microscalpel to carefully cut away the tendrils. Alba flinched, growled, but didn't lash out. Hours passed. Sweat dripped from Jax's brow. By the end, he had only removed a handful. "This is gonna take years," he muttered. Alba's eyes met his. And for a moment, he saw something like understanding. He chuckled softly. "Guess we'd better get comfortable." Days turned to weeks. Jax fell into a rhythm, days spent carefully removing the parasites, nights spent building tools to make the process faster. Alba grew stronger. Her movements steadier. Her growls louder. And somewhere along the way, Jack stopped seeing her as a burden. She was a companion. A friend. One night, while repairing a broken injector, Alba padded over to him and rested her massive head on his lap. Jax froze, then chuckled, gently stroking her scales. "Yeah," he whispered. "I'm glad I found you too." But peace never lasted long in the galaxy. Jax knew word of an albino renar's survival wouldn't stay quiet. Eventually, someone would come looking. Consortium hunters. Scavengers. Worse. But they'd be ready. Because Jax wasn't going to let anyone hurt her ever again. In the dim hum of the driftwood, stars drifting past the viewport, Jax worked at his bench. His fingers were stained with grease. His eyes focused, calculating. He was building a custom nutrient injector, designed to deliver precise doses of a regenerative serum, crafted from salvaged medtech and alien compounds. Behind him, Alba stirred. The soft scrape of her claws echoed through the ship. Jax looked over his shoulder, offering her a tired smile. "Almost done, big girl." She huffed gently and laid her head back down, watching him with intelligent, glowing eyes. Her scales shimmered now, stronger than before. But the barnacles weren't gone. Not yet. Jax returned to his work, jaw set with quiet determination. He'd saved ships. Fixed wrecks. Now, he was fixing a dragon. One of the barnacles fought back, its tendrils burrowed deep within Alba's body like twisted roots. Jax leaned back with a groan, wiping the sweat from his brow. "This is going to take forever," he muttered. Alba let out a low growl, the sound like gravel shifting in a storm. "Yeah, I know," Jax said, rubbing his eyes. "But we've got time." The quiet was shattered by the sharp beep of an incoming transmission. Jax froze. His heart pounded as he stepped toward the comm panel, fingers hovering over the controls. Who the hell is calling me out here? He took a steadying breath and activated the screen. The flickering image of an old friend filled the display, Mech, a fellow scavenger from way back. His expression was grim. "Jax," Mech's voice crackled through the aging comm system. "You've got a problem." Jax's stomach dropped. What else is new? He said with a dry smile. What's going on? Merrick glanced off-screen, then leaned closer. It's the dragon, Jax. Someone saw you leave Cryon. Word's out. The whole damn galaxy knows you've got an albino renard, and they're coming for you. Jax clenched his fists, a storm of fury rising in his chest. Who? Everyone, Merrick said bluntly. Collectors. Poachers. Mercenaries. Even the consortium's sniffing around. They'll pay a fortune for her, and they won't care what they have to do to get it. Jax's jaw tightened. Let them try. Merrick shook his head. You know I've got your back, but you're out there alone. You can't fight all of them. Jax turned slightly, eyes flicking to Alba. Her glowing eyes met his with silent strength. I'm not alone, Jax said softly. And I'm not running. Merrick studied him for a long moment before nodding. Just, be careful, Jax. There's a lot of bad people out there. I know, Jax replied. But I've faced worse. The screen went dark. Jax leaned against the wall, his mind racing. Behind him, Alba growled low, sensing his tension. He turned to her, determination flashing in his eyes. Looks like we're going to have company. Alba's eyes flared in response. Jax smirked. Yeah. We'll be ready. The next few days passed in a blur. Jax threw himself into preparing the driftwood for war. He reinforced the hull, upgraded the weapon systems, and installed every defensive measure he could scavenge or build. Alba stayed close despite her weakened state, silently watching his every move with intelligent, watchful eyes. One night, as he welded a damaged turret casing, Alba padded over and gently rested her head beside him. Tired of watching me work? Jax teased. Alba huffed softly, a sound that almost sounded like amusement. Yeah, me too, Jax chuckled. He leaned back against the bulkhead, staring at the ceiling. You know, I used to dream about this life when I was a kid. Adventure, danger, excitement. He sighed. Didn't think it'd be this damn exhausting. Alba rumbled a soft growl of agreement. But I wouldn't trade it, he added, his voice quieter. She closed her eyes and rested. He looked at her, the bond between them unspoken but unbreakable. The first attack came without warning. Jax was still calibrating the shields when the alarms blared to life. He bolted to the cockpit, cursing, and Alba followed, growling as the red alert lights flashed. On the screen, 3 ships, fast and armed. Damn it, Jax hissed, gripping the controls. Uninvited guests. Alba crouched beside him, tense and ready. Don't worry, big girl. I've got a few tricks left. The enemy opened fire, plasma bolts streaking through the darkness. Jax weaved the driftwood between blasts with veteran skill. Alba let out a deep roar as the ship jolted violently. Jax flipped a switch. The ship's cannons returned fire. One enemy ship exploded in a fiery burst. 2 remained. They were closing in. Jax muttered, we won't last in a straight fight, time to improvise. He pushed the engines to their limit, diving into a nearby asteroid field. The enemy followed, but one clipped a rock, spiraling out of control and detonating. Jax grinned. 2 down. The last ship hung back, cautious now. Jax narrowed his eyes. Let's see how brave you are. He engaged the cloaking device. The driftwood vanished. The enemy scanned wildly. Jax lined up a shot. Gotcha. The rear cannons roared. The last ship exploded. Silence returned. Jax exhaled, heart pounding. Not bad for an old mechanic. Alba nuzzled his shoulder, and he laughed softly. Yeah, I know. We're not done yet. He set course for an uncharted sector, leaned back, and whispered, we'll keep fighting, Alba. No matter what. Her eyes glowed in silent agreement. Together, they were unstoppable. Jack stared out the viewport, watching the debris drift silently through space, the twisted remains of the battle they'd just survived. The driftwood floated like a ghost ship, wounded and weary. But Jax knew this was just the beginning. The aftermath hung heavy. He sat cross-legged on the workshop floor, a half-empty bottle of cheap alien liquor in one hand, a welding torch in the other. The torch's flickering light danced across his face, highlighting the deep lines of exhaustion and determination. Sparks flew as he worked to seal a fractured panel, the sharp tang of scorched metal thick in the air. Alba lay beside him, her massive body stretched out in the cramped space. Her crimson eyes glowed dimly in the shadows, watching him in silence. Despite the wounds that marred her alabaster scales, she was still majestic, still powerful. Jax glanced her way, and a tired smile pulled at his lips. "You know," he muttered, taking a swig from the bottle, "I didn't sign up for this." Alba let out a low, amused huff, her tail flicking lazily. "Yeah, I know. Neither did you." He set the bottle aside and leaned back against the wall. "But here we are. A washed-up mechanic and a dragon everyone wants dead. Hell of a team, huh?" Alba rumbled softly in agreement. Jax's smile faded as the weight of their journey settled over him. Scars, visible and invisible, ran deep. "They're not going to stop," he said quietly. "As long as you're alive, they'll keep coming." Alba met his gaze, and Jax felt the ache of guilt tighten in his chest. "I'm not saying we give up," he added quickly. I don't know how much longer we can keep this up." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling to the surface. "I've spent my whole life fixing broken things, ships, engines, droids. But this?" He gestured toward her. "I don't know how to fix this." Alba leaned in, resting her head gently against his side. The warmth of her touch settled something in him. Jax chuckled softly and stroked her scales. "Yeah," he murmured. "We'll figure it out." A sudden beep shattered the quiet. Jax scrambled to his feet, rushing to the cockpit. His heart thudded as he scanned the incoming transmission. "Merrick," he muttered. "Activate the comm." The screen lit up with his friend's face, drawn, tense. "It's worse than we thought," Merrick said grimly. Jax's stomach sank. "What now?" "The consortium," Merrick replied. "They're sending a fleet." Jax felt the blood drain from his face. "A fleet?" Merrick nodded. "And they're not coming to negotiate." Jax's fists clenched. Rage flared in his chest. "Let them come. Jax, listen to me, this isn't a couple bounty hunters. It's an armada. You can't fight them alone." "I'm not alone," Jax said, glancing back at Alba. Her eyes gleamed with the fire of defiance. Merrick sighed. "Then you'd better be ready." The screen went dark. Jax turned to Alba, his jaw set. "Looks like we've got work to do." Alba growled softly. Jax grinned. "Yeah. Bring it on." The next hours were a storm of movement, welding, wiring, calibrating weapons, and rigging traps. Jax pushed the driftwood systems past their limits. Alba, despite her exhaustion, stayed close. Her silent presence was his anchor. As the first enemy ships pierced the void, Jax felt an eerie calm settle over him. He stood at the viewport, hand resting on Alba's snout. "Ready, big girl," he whispered. Alba let out a deafening roar that echoed through the ship. Jax smiled. "Let's finish this." The battle was fire and fury. They fought as one, Jax behind the controls, Alba a blazing force of nature. Plasma fire scorched the hull, explosions rocked the deck, but they held the line. Together. When the last enemy ship fell in flames, silence returned. The driftwood, battered but unbroken, drifted once more through the stars. But the cost was steep. Inside, emergency lights flickered crimson and amber. The ship's hum had become a desperate, uneven gasp. Jax leaned against the engine room wall, blood soaking through the makeshift bandage on his arm, eyes locked on the damaged reactor core. Alba lay nearby. Her body, once brilliant, was now covered in scorch marks and pulsing barnacles that refused to die. Her low growl wasn't anger, it was pain. And something deeper. Something that echoed Jax's own weariness. "We've been through worse," he muttered, though even he didn't believe it. Alba's eyes found his, unblinking. Daring him to hope. "Okay," he admitted, chuckling weakly. "Maybe not much worse." He staggered to the console, hands moving through a blur of commands. Sparks flared. Circuits groaned. But he didn't stop. The ship was more than wires and plating. It was home. It was all they had. Then the comm crackled. "Jax, you there?" He hit the comm, "Go ahead." Merrick's voice came low, urgent. "They're coming again. Heavy force. The bounty's not the only thing anymore." "What are you talking about?" "They see Alba as a threat. Something they can't control. If they can't have her, they'll erase her." Jax's blood boiled. "Over my dead body." "That's exactly what they're counting on." Jax looked at Alba. Her strength was failing, but her spirit burned bright. "We're not running," he whispered. "Not now." "Then make it count," Merrick said. The line went dead. Jax placed a hand on Alba's head. "I'll fix you. I promise." Alba nuzzled him, her breath shallow but steady. The next hours blurred, defenses patched, traps laid, weapons primed. Alba, limping, patrolled the corridors. When Jax turned and found her watching him, he gave a tired smile. "Yeah. I'm scared too." Alba huffed. "So am I. But I'm here." Then the alarm screamed. Proximity sensors flared. They were here. "Showtime," Jax muttered, grabbing his blaster. The first barrage slammed into the hull. Jax hit the deck, firing through the chaos. Enemy soldiers breached the corridors. Alba's roar shook the walls as she tore into them with fury and grace. "Alba! Reactor room!" Jax shouted. They fought their way through smoke and fire, blood and screams. They reached the reactor, sealing the doors behind them. Jax collapsed by the console. "We need to overload the core. Hit them with an EMP pulse." Alba growled. "And then what?" Jax gave a grim smile. "Then we survive." His fingers flew. Sparks danced. The door exploded. Mercenaries poured in. Come on," Jax hissed. Alba surged forward, intercepting them. Jax screamed as a bolt grazed his shoulder, but he didn't stop. "Got it," he shouted, slamming the final switch. A pulse of energy erupted from the reactor. Systems died. Mercenaries fell, weapons useless. Alba stood over their enemies, chest heaving. Jax slumped against the console. "We did it," he whispered. Alba purred, but Jax could see the fatigue in her eyes. "Rest soon," he promised. "But first, let's get out of here." The driftwood limped through space, its hull groaning under the weight of survival. But inside, Jax looked at Alba, his dragon, his friend, and felt something like hope stirring in his chest. The war wasn't over. But neither were they.